Hey, welcome back everybody. I'm Evil Mike and this is Evil's Comics. Got another review for you, and this is going to be on the prequel comic of this one. This is Vinyl Image Comics. This is issue number 1. This is all we have so far. I think this dropped about 2 weeks ago, or now 3 weeks. Reading this awesome first comic, finding out about it, but it had a prequel comic. I won't say it's a direct sequel, and I will say it is a direct sequel, or prequel, I'm sorry, prequel. This is a little different. So, if you've read Vinyl, and it's hard to tell right here because he has his mask on, but this main character right here is the same character here. In this book, he is aged. This one, I want to say he's in his, maybe 40s or late 30s, something like that. Now, in this book, he goes by the name Edwin, and I think, if I remember right, his name was Walter in this book. Now, the main gist of the story on both of them is he's a serial killer, so it could be like a Joker-ish situation where we don't even know his real name, he's just using aliases. It's not like, on the screen we got his ID or anything. So, that's kind of why I say it might be a prequel. But I'm pretty guaranteed it is a prequel. He has pretty much the same MO. It is a serial killer. I will say that his serial killer, his habit is a little different than his habit in this one. In this one, he's kind of known as the plastic bag killer. And in this one, we just know him as Vinyl. The reason for Vinyl is it has to do with the music that he goes into his killings. This one, the reason for Plastic Bag Man, and I don't have any of the covers. I think on all the variant covers, like the cover Bs, they did show, and I'll show you in some of these, but he just puts people's heads in plastic bags after he kills them. But the book originally is kind of not set up as that. Really, it's just Edwin and his new wife, or I don't know if they get into that, but it's Virginia, and Virginia is a mannequin, and this guy is nuts, and to him, Virginia is alive. We open up the comic, and they are, pulling off Titanic here, and they're having a whole love scene and everything. I will say the same art. It's done by the same team, so if you enjoyed the art in Vinyl, you're definitely going to enjoy the art in this one. As far as the story, it's almost got the same pacing, the same. It was really good. The first 4 issues, and that's what this review is, because I do not have issue 5 yet. So let's say this is part 1, and when I get 5, I'll add it to the whole review. Again, this is more like if you've never seen this comic, or you've never heard of that. I had never heard about plastic before reading Vinyl, so this was new. This came out back in 2017, and I wasn't big into indies back then. The indies is kind of like a new craze recently, especially for me. So, and I know indies have been around forever, but honestly for me, this is kind of new. This past year, 2021. Now, I've always been a, Image, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse kind of guy, but their main stuff. Dark Horse was always like Aliens and Predator for me. I can say Image was always like Spawn, Max, Pit, that kind of stuff. I don't even know if I've ever gone off branch, on Image. I kind of stuck with the main core. Alright, so back to this. We're getting with Edmund and his woman, Virginia. And they are having this, I'm just going to show random art as I go along. But they're just having a nice, outing, in their car. They are traveling. They don't say from where to where, but it's kind of like he's just roaming the countryside, He stops off and gets some provisions. He does make comments about getting better cleaning, equipment for Virginia so she can take easier baths, something like that. It is a mannequin, so and evidently he uses the mannequin, so I'm pretty sure he needs to clean the said mannequin. They go into the scene where, for some reason, there's some drunk guys, and they show them up here on the panel at the top, and they're kind of just, those guys, and they see a woman in the car, and they, at this point, they do realize, they walk up to the car thinking it's a woman in the car, and then when they get there, they do realize it's a mannequin, and they kind of just continue on with the oogling and the hey baby, how's it going, type stuff, and he is not for that. This is his woman, and he is a very jealous man. So at this point, it's kind of stated later on in the books that he hasn't really done the serial killer thing in a long time. So this is kind of like the kind of opening scene of him breaking into it. And right here, because of the oogling and the words and stuff, I mean, he goes full blown. Now these guys specifically, I mean, I want to say he does kill every single one of them, and it's because they either said something or touched her or did something like that. But right off the bat, one of his go-to moves is like this guy up here, and he does get this guy in a plastic bag, you know, right off the bat, and he takes him out. We get into the main part of the story, and it's this guy up here, and I think his name is Thaddeus, and he's basically like a gang kingpin or something like that. They don't go into exactly what he is in the villainy world, but you kind of get the he's like some kind of kingpin, he's in charge kind of thing. His son is another one of the key players, but we just go into, you know, more of them stopping along the way. It goes back to normal over here, and on the side, they do kidnap both Virginia and Edwin. And when they do, there's some, you know, that they have, you know, they're mocking because they realize she's a mannequin, and it was something important to her, so they're mocking her, and they have this guy looking up her dress and licking her and saying certain things. And this guy Edmund, like I mentioned before, he is extremely jealous, so he is noticing all that. Pretty much at the end of this you know, story right here, they release him and let him go on the way, and they keep Virginia for some reason. And they want him to they want him to take care of this cop. It's during the conversation about getting Virginia back. But that's pretty much the sum up of the first issue. The second issue, I mean, all of them pick up right where the first one left off, and right off the bat, I mean, he's going to work because that was part of his mission, was killing this cop so he could get Virginia back. And they show his, like we've seen in vinyl, he has this John Wick style of sneaking up and getting through, you know, getting through security and stuff like that. Some more like of a sneakery. This is one of the hitmen that is supposed to be taking out the cop, and he's kind of slow to the game, and he ends up taking out, you know, this guy very, very simply. And the book is very graphic in a nice way. I wouldn't say it's horror. I mean, a lot of people consider like Silence of the Lambs, you know, serial killer stories like Seven, stuff like that, to be horror. It has horror themes, but just because it has blood or death in the movie, it's not a horror movie. Horror is like when you got like a Jason or a Freddy or a monster or something like that, in my opinion. You know, nightmare situations, stuff like that. Now, I will say it has horror elements. That, like I said, it is graphic. This is definitely a, you know, 18, or I would say like, you know, 17 or older. I've never, there doesn't need to be an age restriction, but, you know, and it's for older eyes. The whole concept behind the mannequin and him having sex with the mannequin, and every person that comes across this mannequin kind of has the same ideas, that they realize it's a mannequin, they start oogling it and having fun with it. He does accomplish the mission. I mean, he takes out the cop and the other hitman very simply. He does go back to the Thaddeus guy. The Thaddeus guy doesn't do what he says, then release Virginia. So basically the rest of the story is Edmund trying to get, you know, Virginia back. From the first time he was kidnapped, he does realize that, you know, he uses his intellect, and he finds out exactly where they had took him. So he starts instantly tracking them down. They do go into the book where, and I think they show it on some of the covers, like right here. He is licking the donut. He is a huge fan of two things: plastic, and that's kind of the name of the book, and donuts. He has a huge hard-on for donuts. In the whole story, I think that's the only thing that he eats is donuts, and same thing with Virginia, because she eats too. I will say this, that it's not just Virginia that he talks to. His mom is the moon, and he will mention that, you know, she's not up right now when it's daytime, and when it's nighttime, he'll be like, "Oh, mom's up," you know, and it's something that you kind of have to pay attention to, because he doesn't call her, "Hey, the moon, hey, mom," you know, it is just mom. There are several other people that get killed, not necessarily by him, but there is a cop that he talks to along the way, and it's because he didn't kill him is why he believes he can still talk. This is that, like right here. If you can see right here, he's sitting with the cop, and the cop has has a nice hole where his noggin should be, and he's talking, and you see dialogue from the cop, and it's just the guy's crazy. But we do get to see the new elected sheriff after the sheriff that was taken out by our plastic killer, and he has multiple reasons for being called the plastic. I'm calling him the plastic killer. But the plastic bag man killer, but he's with Virginia, and she's a mannequin, she's plastic, but he uses a lot of plastic weapons. He likes sporks, but it's kind of a main theme of the book. He also has this thing when he gets close to like killing people, and I don't know how well it's going to show, but right here in this panel where I'm tapping, the cop is holding like a plastic army man, and they're always like female army men, and he puts those up like right before he's gonna kill you. Like right here, like that cop had just found the army man, and our bro is coming out of the trunk like a G, and that's basically the second issue. Third issue, I'll show you the cover briefly because all the covers are fire. A and B, I've seen both. That homage cover from number 1, it is a homage cover, and there's a and B on that one too. But right here, we are following the cop where he was in the trunk. We saw, and the cop has not noticed that he's in the trunk because right here he's just driving along. He was mad at the donut lady. He had stopped him with the donut lady, and he was like, "Hey, I'm the sheriff," and she didn't give him any, and he was kind of mad. So he ends up like driving along, and he ends up seeing a hitchhiker that's a female, and he ends up picking her up, hoping, bad cop way, that he's gonna get his way today, So he instantly, like you can see right here, he goes to attacking, and he tries to rape her. He has her handcuffed in the back, and he's going through the process while this is happening at the very bottom of the panel, and it was there before, but there is one of the plastic army men that show up, and sure enough, our boy's crawling out of the trunk through the back seat and plastic bag that man. He gets him back. This is one of the people that specifically did something to Virginia, and as you're paying attention, if you remember what he did, he had licked said Virginia, and so of course right here that's the main item that he wants from this man is this guy's tongue. This other girl that was now being saved, but in the rape situation, is kind of going through this, and she's kind of like in a daze, trying to process. She almost got raped, and then she sees this guy being killed right in front of her, because he doesn't just take the tongue, but he cuts his head off too. And she kind of sticks around. She wasn't really like going anywhere. I guess she was like kind of homeless already to begin with. That's why she was hitchhiking, and she just kind of like, she ends up not seeing Edmund as such a bad guy, that like after finding out and hearing about Virginia, she's kind of on board. Now she isn't aware that Virginia is plastic at the moment, but she does get there. But eventually we see Thaddeus, and he's learning that some of his closer henchmen are being taken out one by one. He is very furious about who this guy is, and not only that, but this guy is pulling out Godfather horse head messages, and telling him basically like, you better let Virginia go or you next. So we get a little more back detail with this new girl, and I don't remember her name at all, but and he goes into the detail about like the dead cop, his mom, the moon, and Virginia in the story and stuff, and she learns a lot more, and she's on board with this. She's cool. She's like, yeah, that's cool you're talking to a dead cop, that's cool that you're after your mannequin wife, let's do it. And she's on board. Numerous times he allows her to leave. Numerous times he actually gives her the car. Deep down he's a really nice man, and when you get down to it, the only reason he's doing this horrendous and horrific stuff is because these people messed with Virginia. They go more into the kingpin side of this guy, and they show you that not only that he's this bad guy, but he controls the cops and politicians, and so he's trying to get them all on board with finding out who Edmund is, and they still don't know who he is. They've done extensive background at this time. You kind of find out that he's like, he has no identity, none of his fingerprints match. That's why he has no problems being on camera, and they have caught him on camera a bunch. And it's because he just has no information in the system. I was showing this off right here. This is one of those B covers, and you can see this guy in the plastic. And every single one of these issues had a cover like that. I wish I would have known, or I would have got. I think, I mean, I love all the covers, but I just like when covers kind of connect to the comic more. But that was issue 3. Again, issue picks up right after where 3 left, and I'll show you a little cover on that. If you've been watching me, you've seen all these covers, but this, I mean, I actually got around to reading them. So we're picking up right after where, you know, Edmund and this girl are sitting in the car, and they're about to go take out another one of, you know, this guy's groups, and it's like, this time he's after one guy, and it happens to be a group of individuals inside. The girl makes a comment that, you know, aren't you scared? There's like 3 guys inside. It sounds like 3 guys, and it's just me and you. And Edmund's like, no, 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 no. Virginia would not have that. It's just me going in by myself, you know. And he does, and I mean, just like we've seen before, 3 people, not a problem. I mean, eventually, like one by one, you know, you can see in this panel, he takes out the first guy while playing with electricity, and, you know, getting to turn the fuse box back on, and of course, yep, he finds a plastic little army man. They all do before they die. It's kind of his trademark. But all in all, it was leading up to this guy, and this was one of these specific guys that kidnapped Virginia. Now, he didn't per se lick her or anything like that, but guess what? He had looked at her, so guess what, you know, is being taken from this guy. Again, he gets the plastic bag treatment. The girl that was with him, and the more bloody than I've shown you so far, but the girl that was with him walks in, you know, with him at this time, and Edmund is really disturbed. He did not want this girl to see this, you know, and she's still expressing that, you know, she's cool with it, especially because she knows he's doing it for this girl Virginia, and she's more in love with the idea because he's like a knight in shining armor, and he's just trying to save his woman. She even kind of starts, you know, wanting to know, because there's numerous scenes where they're talking in the car and talking about the plans of what's about to be done. And, you know, like while they're talking back and forth, the dead cop chimes in. And of course, she can't hear him, but he can. And she's got to the point where she's like, hey, what'd he say, you know? So she might not be all there, you know, but I really dig this girl, you know, and she's very open-minded, you know. She's trying to make the best of the situation, you know. I'd probably be right there with her, man. Like, hey, yeah, man, you hearing dead people? Yeah, man. But like I said, she does get a lot of opportunities to leave the situation, and she's just on board with trying to help this guy in his mission to save Virginia. We do get some more quick panels, and basically it's you know, this guy, this Kingpin, is running out of his henchmen type stuff, and we're down to just him and his son, and of course Edmund being a G, you know, he's got his son, and he's preparing for that final, you know, showdown with Thaddeus and whoever he brings along. And they do show you some of the setup, you know. They show like Thaddeus and his crew down here, and they show Mr. Plastic setting up a whole bunch of plastic army women ready to go to war. They do show you that he's using plastic explosives, haha, plastic. And the very final scene is just like kind of the showdown in a boathouse with his son tied up over, it looks like a hole or something like that, leading to unknown, and Thaddeus walking in the door. They do give us a little sneak peek panels and what the covers look like. I do not yet have plastic number 5, I mentioned in the beginning. I have already ordered it, is just not here, but I thought I'd get you a rundown of the first 4 issues. I've done this before and it went over well with people. Gives you a little brief idea without spoiling the ending, so that way if you don't want to have the ending spoiling, don't watch the video, you know, my next video to this review. But in a nutshell, man, and I will go back, I need to start doing this more, but this was Doug Wagner who did the writing on both, you know, this book and vinyl. Daniel Hilliard was the artist on a lot of the covers and all the inside art. There are some people like Ed Dukeshire that did the lettering, and I want to say most of those people, like right here we got Wagner, Hilliard, and Dukeshire. They're all part of the new comic that is vinyl. So I mean, it's the same exact team. That's one of the reasons while reading vinyl, I loved vinyl, so I kind of had a feeling I knew I would love this comic. I like the writing style, I like the art, and really the pain of that world that they were giving us. A lot of people forget about that, but that lore that's behind these characters is just as important as the characters themselves. That's my review. Like, comment, subscribe if you are not already subscribed. I'm always dropping videos. I have my new comics coming hopefully either tomorrow or Thursday. It has been storming like here like crazy everywhere in the South right now. It's that season. And there are tons of memes about Houston already going underwater. Ha ha ha. We got boats. I don't, but I can swim. Hey. And trust me, I can fit like 2 long boxes under my. I'm just playing. But everybody out there, y'all have a great day. I have another review coming. I'm going to do like some other books that they're just not on my pickups that I've gotten from dollar pickups and stuff like that that I need to, that I've already read, and I just want to throw them in reviews, get them out there too. If you have read these comics or are interested in these comics, if I have increased that interest in this comic, if you've never, comment all that stuff below. I love reading every single one. Especially the more engaging questions and comments you can give to me, the better. I do have a giveaway coming up soon for my 200 marker, and I'm more waiting along, for the gift that goes along with it. I'm doing the Frank Chow signing of Fight Girls, and I also have other Frank Chow comics that I will get signed. But everybody, y'all have a great one. Thank y'all. Evil out.